Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. On this channel, we talk about problems people face in their day-to-day lives. Let's start with a video.
Jessica and I met 2 years ago. I thought I had found the one. I remember the first day I saw her. She had blonde hair and she wore an adorable dress that accentuated her figure. I was so sure that she was the woman for me. Down the line, I fell out of love with Jessica. I was sorry that it happened that way, and it was one of the hardest things for me to do because I had come to love Jessica. I saw her as my friend and not just my lover. But that time I realized that I couldn't go further in our relationship. She was not the person I wanted, and we got different values as the years went by. Our values synced before, but we had grown and now had different points of view on important matters. For me, it was no longer about the superficial things in the relationship. But I found out that those things don't keep a marriage together, though they can help. I couldn't see myself ending up with her, and it hurts even trying to let her know. I just had to break up with her, though. It wasn't the easiest thing for me to do. I remember she cried and begged me and said how much she loved me. I loved her, as a person and as a great friend. We have been through so many things together, but I wasn't in love with her, and I couldn't see myself 10 to 12 years with Jessica. I thought that the right thing to do was to be open about it. There really isn't an easy way to break up with someone, though. I called her, and we spoke about how our relationship was going. I told her that I wanted to break up, but she just walked out on me without saying a word. I had no clue what was going on in her mind. A few days after I broke up with her, she called me and begged. She said that she would be all I ever wanted her to be, and even change herself for me. I felt like the most horrible person in the world, but there was nothing I could do. Instead of that, we went our separate ways sooner than later. I would have loved for us to remain friends. Still, I thought that that would be selfish of me to ask, so I decided to go our separate ways. It so happened that an opportunity came for me to move to Texas. I wanted to start a new life and figure out myself. If I didn't see Jessica as my life partner, I wanted to find out what kind of person was ideal for me. I moved to Texas very quickly, and I don't regret it. It was indeed a much-needed step. I met new people, started afresh at my new job, and moved into a lovely apartment. It felt like life was giving me a clean slate to start over. I wasn't looking to date anybody at that time because of everything that was going on with me. I just wanted to put things in place. My friends tried their best to introduce me to many female friends. They thought that if I met enough people, my chances of finding one with a spark were higher. It was funny to me, but I indulged them. One evening, I went out with some of my friends. It so happened that a friend brought a mutual friend, and she was more on the quiet side. I approached her because she was gorgeous, and I thought, well, I would like to get to know her, even if I just have her in my circle. We had a lovely conversation. She was so intelligent, and I was attracted to her and how her mind worked. We became good friends, but we'll remain just that because I am still not ready to go back dating. So I won't spoil our relationship by asking her out. I told her about Jessica, and she assured me that I had made the right choice. That kind of calmed me a little bit because I was still feeling guilty for leaving her. It's been 5 months since I broke up with Jessica and moved to Texas. I got an email from her that said she was inviting me for her wedding next month. I was shocked because I didn't think she was dating anybody, but I was happy for her. She really wanted to get married, and it was interesting to see that her wish was coming to pass. Her life was moving forward, and that was enough compensation for me. Her wedding was in a month. She begged me to be there, so I thought I could use it as an opportunity to visit my family. I missed my family. My mom, dad, and sister asked to see me, and I was finally here. My sister didn't fall for it, though. She asked me why I came home because she knew I was a workaholic who didn't know when to take breaks. She had already caught me, so I told her the truth about attending Jessica's wedding. She exclaimed and went on about how horrible that would be if I attended my ex's wedding. I didn't think it was a big deal, but looking from her perspective, I understood that it might be an issue because, I broke her heart even though I didn't mean to. I wish that we went our separate ways more nicely, but it is what it is. My sister persuaded me not to attend the wedding and sit it out. It wasn't such a hard decision to make. I realized that I didn't want to meet anybody who would have thought I was an evil person for doing what I did to Jessica. I knew that Jessica would be mad at me because she begged me to come, and when I agreed, she was excited. On the morning of her wedding, I was still asleep, and my phone buzzed. I didn't pay attention to it until I realized that it would not stop ringing. I slept really late that night because I was doing some work, and seeing as I wasn't going to Jessica's wedding, it wasn't a big deal. I purposely wanted to sleep it off, so by the time I woke up, most of it was already over. The phone rang again, and this time I picked it. Jessica's friend asked me why I wasn't at the venue. When I answered the phone, I said, "Oh, I decided not to come because I didn't want it to be uncomfortable for Jessica." She told me that I was the groom, so she didn't understand me and that I couldn't stand her friend up on the happiest day of her life. I told her that I had broken up with Jessica 6 months ago. All hell broke loose as she did not believe me. I didn't understand what she was saying, so I cut the call. This had to be some sort of joke. A few minutes later, somebody else called me and said the same thing. I had no idea why they called me the groom, but I definitely wasn't leaving my house. I needed to find out what was going on, so I called my sister, but she didn't pick my phone calls. Lily, my sister, went to the wedding, so she knew what had happened. She said that Jessica didn't tell anybody that we had broken up. Instead, on the day we broke up, Jessica told everyone I proposed to her. Still, I had to move to Texas in a hurry for some business, so I asked her to plan the wedding and I would be back in time for the wedding. That was the most ridiculous thing I had heard all year. She got everybody to believe her. It was easy for them because they didn't know that we broke up and we were this picture-perfect couple. What happened was that Jessica couldn't handle it. It was too traumatic, so it affected her mental health. Learning about this made me feel horrible. I wondered if I should have just stayed with her even though I wasn't happy. It was an embarrassing situation for my parents and hers. It's a state of chaos on every side, and I'm in the middle of it. Had I known that Jessica was struggling, I would have done something about it. She invited me to her wedding like I was just a guest. I never got the impression that I was the groom at her wedding. So imagine my confusion. I have to fix this, but don't know how to. I spoke to Jessica's family members, explained everything that happened, and apologized for any inconveniences and pain that I may have caused her. Her parents were pretty understanding, and they admitted that it was strange when Jessica told them that I proposed to her, but she had to plan the wedding alone. She didn't let anyone question her, so they let it be, since they knew that we had been together for the past 2 years. Her parents also apologized for the misunderstanding and insults I got when people thought I was standing her up at the altar. Jessica is scheduled for therapy. When I saw her, I didn't know how to act. I decided to leave for Texas and not come back for a while until she was better. It wouldn't help if I was around her. I still feel like I'm the cause of all this, but I guess it is something that I would have to live with. I caused her so much pain, and I don't think it was worth it. YTA, you caused the lady so much pain she lost her mind. I don't really get why guys do this. You didn't know you didn't like her until after 2 years? NTA, you did the right thing, being honest with her, even if she couldn't handle it. It was the best thing you could have done for her. It is not your fault, and you shouldn't sacrifice your happiness for somebody else. YTA, you led her on for too long. You can't play with someone's heart like that. You fell out of love? What does that even mean? If at this stage of your life you haven't figured out what you want, then please don't put someone else in the same mess you put Jessica in.
Next story.
I work in an office setting. Most of us were allowed to work remotely 2 years ago. My coworker, Jill, ended up moving from San Diego to Utah because the cost of living is cheaper in Utah than San Diego. She is living quite well. Jill had someone who volunteered to help her with office stuff like her mail, so it worked out great for her. I never liked Jill because she took advantage of me when I started and never apologized or made it right. She also threw me under the bus. The person who helped her left, and our company is requiring staff to come back to the office twice a week. Jill panicked because she obviously can't fly from Utah to California every week. Our boss said he was fine with her working remotely because she can do 95% of her job at home as long as she has someone to handle her office stuff like mail. Guess who she asked? I asked her why she was asking me, and she said, I was nice and I'm in the office regularly. Then I asked her what I was going to get. She was confused. I said I understood how valuable it would be if I helped her out, but I'm not doing it for free because I'm not a nice person. I don't care if she's in a different state. I'm busy enough. I don't owe her anything. I don't work for her. I don't have to help her. And quite frankly, I really didn't like her. I'm not saying no, but what is she going to do for me? All she said was we were a team and that I am in the office. So I said, sorry, I'm too busy. Now she's coming up with plan Bs that are being shot down by HR and compliance. Honestly, I would have settled for a gift card every now and then. It befuddles me how some beggars want to be choosers. There are a few instances that led to my cutting her off. I had just started and she would dump her work on my desk at the last minute. I wasn't hired to help her. Then she started promising that I would do stuff for other people without asking me. The worst was when she asked me to mail out the paperwork that she prepared. Her work was all wrong and she blamed me for not checking her work. This was like 4 months into the job and I never got a single thanks. I told her off and she found another sucker. Cow worker. Moved to Utah. In theory, she'd have to move back, but she's an expert in suckering others to carry part of her load. So no, she knows she'll be able to get away with staying in Utah, with others effectively subsidizing her cheaper rent. And sure enough, she found another sucker when you said no. Absolutely NTA, not even close. I've read other comments and mine might be controversial, but NTA. In another comment, OP said that a coworker already dumped some of her work on OP, so when she, coworker, made a mistake in her papers, she blamed OP for not checking her work. She should check her work herself. She gets paid for doing her job, so it's only fair that OP gets paid for doing it, especially after that situation. OP's time is valuable. I just think there could be another way to ask it. Maybe just saying something like, yeah, I'll do your job, but as my time is valuable to me and I have my own stuff to do, I would love to be paid for it. Simple and efficient.
Next story.
During the pandemic, I, 22, female, proposed to my 21 female wife. We've known each other since junior year in high school. We planned on waiting till the pandemic calmed down and got married last March. My oldest brother, 30, who I'll call Max, met his wife, 33, who I'll call Madison, when I was 11. It was clear from the start that Madison didn't like me. Even though it hurt, we got along fine. A reason for this might have been the fact that me and Max are 8 years apart and we didn't have a relationship at all. A memory I distinctly remember was when they had brought ice cream and I asked to have some. They told me no, not big issue, they bought it. But when my older brother, 26, at the time 16, I'll call Aaron, asked a few minutes after me, they said yes. I asked again and Madison told me no. They got engaged when I was 17, also the age I came out to everyone. Everyone still loved and accepted me. When they were handing out invitations to family and close friends to their wedding, I was the only one who didn't get one. My mom thought it was just sent at a different time than the others. After a week, my mom contacted Madison. She told my mom that children weren't allowed at the wedding, and I don't want someone like her ruining my wedding. Referencing me being part of the LGBT, my mom tried convincing them to let me go, but it didn't work. I sat it out while they all went. Growing up, she made me feel insecure and a terrible person. When I tried telling anyone about this, they brushed it off, telling me it was probably just her messing and playing around with me. While sending out invitations, I sent one to everyone but Madison. I didn't want her at my wedding. My wife asked me about her invitation, and I replied that she wasn't going to get one. My wife sided with me, knowing what she had done, and didn't want her going to our wedding either. Invitations were sent, and I immediately got a call from Madison asking about her invitation. I told her that she wasn't getting one because we felt uncomfortable with her attending. After the call, I got calls from everyone. When my mother called me and asked about it, I didn't lie, and I told her the truth about growing up and how I wasn't even invited to her wedding. My mom called me a petty bitch and hang up. My family started backing out of my wedding, telling me that if Madison wasn't attending, they weren't either. As much as it hurt to know they weren't coming to my wedding, I still went on with my word. Aaron was the only one on my side to show up and was the one to walk me down the aisle. My dad is mad at this, but he chose not to go. I've been getting called names ever since my wedding, mostly a petty bitch and a backstabber to the family. I still don't understand how, when I wasn't invited, they still went, but now they're all calling me names and harassing me. Now, I feel like I could have just avoided this whole situation if I just, like Madison, go. So, AITA? NTA, your family is choosing someone who blatantly mistreated you throughout your childhood over you. They want to stand beside her and not attend your wedding in protest, but they wouldn't stand beside you while you were excluded from hers. That was your day, and I guarantee she would have found a way to make it about her or shame you for being part of the LGBT. On your wedding day, you should have the people who support you there. Your family doesn't support you, so they weren't there. You're not obligated to keep the peace by inviting someone you don't even like to your wedding. Be proud of yourself for standing your ground and keep on doing it. NTA, your family made excuses and were compliant for how Madison treated you and were 100% okay with it. Then they backed out of attending your wedding because they sided with someone who mistreated you. Take it for what it is. They didn't and don't care. Aaron, IMO, is the only one who fully accepts you and makes it known. The rest of your family you'll need to relegate to being topical, meaning you now know where they stand and it isn't with you. Put time in with those who love you and don't put stock in those who don't. The best way to go is to live your life and be happy. When they see you happy, despite their funky attitudes, it will burn them up to know you will never let their actions negatively impact your life. I wish you all the best and happiness for you and your SO.